I want to tell you about something that changed everything for me, and it's probably not what you think. It's not about working harder. It's not about some secret investment strategy. And it's definitely not about cutting out your morning coffee or skipping avocado toast. The number one thing that separates the wealthy from everyone else is something so simple, yet so profound, that once you understand it, you'll never look at money the same way again. Most people spend their entire lives trading time for money. You wake up, go to work, put in your 8 hours, and get paid. Maybe you're making $50,000 a year, maybe $100,000, maybe even $200,000. But here's the thing that nobody tells you. As long as you're trading your time for money, you're playing a game you can never truly win. Because time is the one resource you can never get more of. You can't work 25 hours in a day. You can't add an extra day to the week. You're fundamentally limited. Now, wealthy people, they figured out something different. They figured out how to divorce their income from their time. And this is the secret that changes everything. They understand that real wealth isn't about how much money you make. It's about how much money you make while you're sleeping, while you're on vacation, while you're playing with your kids, while you're doing absolutely nothing at all. Think about it this way. Imagine you're a doctor making $300,000 a year. That sounds pretty good, right? You're in the top few percent of earners. But here's what nobody talks about. You're still broke in the way that matters most. Because the moment you stop working, the money stops coming. If you get sick, the income stops. If you want to take 6 months off to travel the world, the income stops. You've built yourself a really nice prison, but it's still a prison. Your time is not your own. Now compare that to someone who owns a portfolio of rental properties generating $100,000 a year in passive income. On paper, the doctor makes 3 times as much. But who's actually wealthier? The person with the rental properties can wake up whenever they want. They can spend their entire day doing whatever brings them joy. They can start new businesses, pursue hobbies, volunteer, travel for months at a time, and the money keeps flowing in. That's real wealth. That's real freedom. But here's where most people get stuck. They think this is only possible if you're already rich, if you already have a bunch of money to invest. And that's the biggest lie we've been sold. The truth is, every single wealthy person started exactly where you are right now. Well, maybe not exactly, but the principle is the same. They started with more time than money, and they figured out how to use that time to build systems that would eventually free them from having to trade time for money ever again. Let me give you a real example. There's a guy I know who worked a regular job making about $60,000 a year. Nothing special. He wasn't some trust fund kid or tech genius. He was just a regular person who understood this one principle. Instead of just working his 9 to 5 and calling it a day, he started spending his evenings and weekends learning a skill. He taught himself graphic design. And instead of freelancing for hourly rates, which is still just trading time for money, he did something different. He created templates. Design templates that people could buy over and over again. It took him about 2 years of working nights and weekends, creating these templates, building up a portfolio, setting up his systems. During those 2 years, he probably made almost nothing from this side project. But then something magical started happening. People started buying his templates. 1 sale here, 2 sales there. Then 10 sales a day. Then 50. Now, 7 years later, he's making about $30,000 a month from these templates. And the beautiful thing? He doesn't have to do anything. He created the product once, and it sells over and over again while he's doing whatever he wants with his time. That's the difference. That's what wealthy people understand. They build assets. They build systems. They build things that work for them instead of them working for things. And the crazy part is, in today's world, this is easier than it's ever been in human history. You don't need a factory. You don't need employees. You don't need a brick and mortar store. You can build income-generating assets from your laptop in your bedroom. But here's what stops 98% of people. They're so focused on immediate gratification that they can't see past next month's paycheck. They want the money now. They want to get rich quick. So they stay trapped in the cycle of trading time for money, always looking for the next raise, the next promotion, the next job that pays a little bit more. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with earning a good salary. But if that's all you're doing, you're missing the entire point. Wealthy people think in decades. They think in terms of building something that will pay them for the rest of their lives. They're willing to put in work now, often for little to no immediate return, because they understand the power of leverage. They understand that if you build the right system, if you create the right asset, it can pay you back 1,000 times over for the work you put in. And here's something else that's crucial to understand. When I say assets, I'm not just talking about stocks and real estate, although those are important too. I'm talking about anything that generates income without requiring your constant attention. It could be a book you write that earns royalties. It could be an online course you create that people buy. It could be a YouTube channel that generates ad revenue. It could be a software product. It could be a blog that makes money from advertising. It could be a vending machine business. The form doesn't matter. What matters is the principle. Most people hear this and think, yeah, but I don't have any special skills. I don't know how to create anything people would buy. And that's exactly the kind of thinking that keeps people stuck. Because here's the truth, you don't need to be exceptionally talented. You don't need to be the best in the world at something. You just need to be good enough and willing to put in the work to build something. There are people making 6 figures selling printable planners on Etsy. There are people making millions creating simple mobile apps. There are people making great money flipping items they find at garage sales. The barrier isn't talent. The barrier isn't money. The barrier is thinking. It's the mental model you have about how wealth is created. 98% of people think wealth comes from working hard at a job. And yes, hard work is important. But wealthy people know that hard work is just the beginning. The real question is, are you working hard to build someone else's dream or your own? Are you working hard to make your boss rich or to make yourself financially free? Here's another thing wealthy people understand that most people don't: the power of multiplication versus addition. When you have a job, your income grows through addition. You get a $5,000 raise, your income goes up by $5,000. You work 10 extra hours of overtime, you make a few $100 more. It's linear, it's predictable, and it's incredibly limiting. But when you build assets, your income grows through multiplication. You create one product and sell it to 10 people, then 100 people, then 1,000 people, then 10,000 people. The amount of work you put in doesn't change, but your income multiplies. That's why you see people going from making nothing to making millions in just a few years. They're not working a million times harder. They've just figured out how to leverage their time and effort in a way that multiplies results instead of adding them. And look, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but where do you actually start? How do you make this transition from being someone who trades time for money to someone who builds income-generating assets? The answer is simpler than you think, but it requires patience and it requires changing your relationship with time. First, you have to start seeing your free time differently. Right now, most people finish their work day and immediately switch to consumption mode. They watch Netflix, scroll through social media, play video games, just decompress. And I'm not saying you shouldn't rest and have fun, but wealthy people understand that there's a season for building. There's a season where you take a portion of your free time and you invest it in building something for your future self. It might be 2 hours every evening. It might be Saturday mornings. It doesn't have to be all your time, but it has to be consistent time dedicated to building something that will eventually free you from having to trade time for money. And here's the beautiful part. In the beginning, it feels like a sacrifice. You're giving up your free time to work on something that's not paying you anything yet. But if you stick with it, if you keep building, there comes a point where the roles reverse. Suddenly, your asset is generating enough income that you don't have to work as much at your day job. Eventually, it might generate enough that you don't have to work at your day job at all. The wealthy also understand something else that's absolutely critical: the importance of solving problems at scale. Your job probably pays you to solve problems for one company or to provide a service to a limited number of people. But what if you could solve a problem for thousands of people? What if you could package your knowledge, your skills, your solution into something that could help people even when you're not directly involved? That's what wealthy people do. They find a problem that lots of people have, they create a solution, and they figure out a way to deliver that solution at scale. It could be through technology, through systems, through other people. But the key is scale. Because serving one person and serving 1,000 people through a system or product takes roughly the same amount of effort. That's leverage. And here's the final piece that I think is the most important. Wealthy people understand that becoming financially free isn't about the money. It's about buying back your time. It's about having the freedom to wake up every day and choose what you want to do with your hours. It's about not having someone else dictate your schedule. It's about being able to say yes to opportunities that excite you and no to things that drain you without worrying about the financial implications. So here's what I want you to take away from this. The number one thing that every wealthy person knows is this: your job is not to work hard for money. Your job is to build assets that work hard for you. Your job is to take whatever time, skills, and resources you have right now and use them to create systems that generate income without requiring your constant presence. It's not going to happen overnight. It might take 2 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years. But if you start today, if you start thinking like a builder instead of an employee, if you start seeing opportunities to create instead of just opportunities to earn, your entire financial future can change. The question isn't whether this is possible. The question is whether you're willing to see money differently, to see time differently, and to make the decision that you're going to spend the next few years building something that will pay you for the rest of your life. Because that's what wealthy people do. And now you know their secret.